Welcome to the Oyster Arrow podcast. We're still trying to figure out what to name it. Right now, Oyster Shooters is a running was in the running
I
name
like
of it.
that. I like that.
Yeah,
Oyster shooters.
yeah. But I'm here with Craig Picken of the North Star Group, and Craig, I've known you for a couple of years now. I think you've really made a name for yourself in helping companies find staffing, both executive level, predominantly executive level, I believe, but also all functions. But I wanted to talk to you in our podcast. We are interviewing and having guests that are entrepreneurs, people that have started their own company, and just to try to talk about maybe how that went for you starting, and then some advice that you have, that kind of thing. So we can get into that. First off, Craig, how's your summer going so far?
Summer is good. I wish vacation is not in the works, but the sun is shining. The sun is shining. I live at the beach.
Good
Life is
deal.
good.
Good deal.
So,
So I guess let's just kind of get right into it. First off, can you give us a little background about when you started the North Star Group? Maybe what you had done before that, and then what kind of like was that defining moment where you said, "I'm going to go do my own thing."
yeah, interesting. So I started, my background was naval aviation. I came out of college and flew in the Navy for 8 years, E2 Hawkeyes predominantly. I left the Navy. I went to work for Gulfstream Aircraft on the sales and marketing side. Left Gulfstream after 4 years. I went to Bombardier Business Aircraft. Was there for a little over three out in LA. Kind of, time came to leave Bombardier, and I left the industry for a few years. I actually went into real estate development with some folks, and we developed some property in West Virginia, and then came down to Carolina. And that was all well and good until this thing called the financial crisis hit. And
Sure.
I was with a big real estate development company. I was their VP of sales and marketing. But we had tied $1 billion worth of real estate loans to Wachovia Bank. When Wachovia Bank blew up, we did too. So, uh, which came back to, do I stay? Well, I had no choice. I had no job. My house was now $400,000 underwater. I'm living in Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, and I said, "Oh, what do I do now?" I had an opportunity to go back and sell business jets. Didn't want to do that, and you always get one of those calls. This call came from a fella I used to hire to train sales teams, and he said, "You would be a really good executive recruiter. I want to introduce you to some friends of mine who are doing just that." And that's how I started my own thing. I said I could go do this and have a good time with it. And that's how literally in 2008, North Star Group was born.
Wow. So you weren't formally trained. You didn't have this long background in HR, recruiting, or anything like that. That's cool.
No, I just kind of, it was, I created a little business plan for myself, and I said, go. And it was go.
Good
Um,
deal.
so
Well, I guess what were some of those hurdles back then? I mean, everybody's, struggling, trying to get a company going and all that, but can you kind of pinpoint some of those initial hurdles that you had to overcome, how you did it, and how you are what you are today?
yeah, well, look, the initial hurdles are just getting started. You think about it's a big, yeah, the analogy I use is when you're starting a business, it's like being put in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean in the middle of the night with a raft and no compass. You're paddling, you want to paddle to shore, but you're not exactly sure which direction it is. So you tend to be doing a little bit of this for a while.
Right.
But ultimately, like I've got a really intelligent, my wife is awesome. And we sat down and we thought about it. We thought about a direction. Um, we thought about, companies to target. Aero Turbine just happened to be one of my first clients. And that started me a direction. But ultimately from there, I said every year was, how do I build on the last year?
Right.
How do I get a little better? How do I get a little bit, broader? How do I create my own ecosystem? So it's always been internally in my brain, it's always about continuous improvement.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. As we know, this is a relationship business. So how do you help maintain those relationships in between MRO and BAA? I mean, how do you best maintain those?
It's a lot of the same. Look, it's a lot of the same skill sets. MRO is MRO, whether it's in
Right.
commercial aviation or business aviation.
Right.
But it's about, I don't really look at anything other than helping people.
Yep.
My focus is every day I come to work, I'm going to help somebody with something. And if I help people, eventually that will start to come back. And it could be just
Yep.
having a dialogue with a I had some dialogues with private equity groups last week. They reach out and they're like, hey, what do you know about this business? Who should we be meeting? We're thinking about things. Look, it's a little bit of free consulting. Here's people
Sure.
you should meet. Let me make some introductions. But if I help them, they remember me.
Yeah, for sure.
If I help a young fella or lady, build their resume so that they can land a job, eventually that, they grow in their career and they come back. So if you help, it's all about helping people.
Yeah,
And
that's really
yeah,
cool. I mean, you're really well known throughout the industry. I mean, I know that I've run into you at several companies over the years, and you've always been really good. So what kind of advice would you give to somebody just starting out? You know, you have a lot of people that kind of want to start their own businesses eventually. What's your number one piece of advice?
the number one, well, starting your own business. Um, get thick skin. You need
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
Get a plan going. But more importantly, whether it's a business, a career, it's story. Your story. What is your story?
Yeah.
Tell your story. I mean, that's what is your story that you're going to tell? Everybody has one.
Yep.
And it's not about you. Your story is about you, but how tell it so that people can relate to you
Yep.
and
Yep.
create the story.
It's funny, my sons are in high school, late high school, and they're like, "Wow, you know, it's so cool. You can kind of do what you want when you're in your own business." And that saying of, yeah, you have the flexibility to choose which 100 hours a week you want to work. You know, if you want, you can
Yeah.
decide when you want to work that 100 hours. I guess is your freedom. So I like that. I
As you know, your brain never turns off.
Yeah, yeah,
Your
it's
brain
always
never
on.
turns off. It is a 24, well, except for the hours you're sleeping. Your brain
Sure.
is always wired towards business.
Yeah, I can agree. We're always trying to figure out how to move surplus inventory. So, I guess moving into a little bit now into, executive recruiting and staffing, I'm interested in two things, and then, we can start to wrap this up. But first, what is the industry looking like today as far as staffing and people? I see a lot of posts on LinkedIn of people changing positions right now, so I'm curious kind of what that looks like, and then just kind of the next couple of years for North Star and Craig Picken, what you're up to. So
Yeah,
let's cover that.
the industry's good. The
Yeah,
aviation aerospace industry right now, it's growing. It's going to continue to grow. Skill sets are changing. A couple years ago, engine traders, you know, you know, people really never really thought that much about engine traders. Now they're all in demand as the engine trading and leasing industry is really picking up. Just one
yeah,
general managers who can run MROs are in demand. Finance people, great CFOs are in demand right now. So for good people with good skills, there is unlimited demand right now.
sure.
For the that is the that's what I'm saying. I'm busier than I've ever been, and
Do,
keep
do you, do you think that's because a lot of technical expertise has left the industry, maybe even retired out, or in COVID? Is that kind of what's driving it?
yep. We need
Yeah,
a strong. We need the time is now to grow the next generation,
yeah, for sure.
and that's
Interesting.
that's it. Get kids interested. People think, well, surplus parts is boring or aircraft parts is boring. Well, no, it's really not.
Yeah.
You talk about the industry of it. It's actually a really exciting industry.
Yeah, things are popping right now, but I guess people always start to think about surplus towards the end of the year when they're trying to meet financial goals. I guess finally, Craig, what's in place for you in North Star over the next couple of years?
Stand by in a couple of months. Some really cool things. There's going to be some really cool things coming by. I'll leave it at that right now.
Oh, that's exciting.
Um, so I'm actually really excited about that. But look, I'm going to be here for a long time, and that's yeah, that's it. Where I've transitioned my business a little bit is look, I love the executive recruiting side of the house. I love working with industry leaders. I do a lot of coaching now. I'm executive coaching certification, so I'm moving more into that, and I find the coaching aspect is as rewarding or more so than the search side of the house.
Sure,
Everybody always needs a neutral ear. So I've worked more towards that. So those are just some of the dynamics. And then I'm getting more into the speaking and writing aspect of
sure,
it. So I'm
sure.
trying to take the business not just from executive recruiting, but executive recruiting, coaching, writing, thought leadership around the industry.
Fantastic. All right, Craig, thank you so much for being with us. You're one of our first few guests on Oyster. And what do you think? Oyster shooters, or should we call it Pearlcast if you had to pick which one?
Hmm. I kind of like, I don't know, pearl cat oyster shooters is cool, but I think I think I like pearl cast better.
All
The
right,
oyster,
we'll
the
have to.
oyster arrow pearl cast.
Yeah, yeah, we're down to two, so I'm going to ask everybody that we're doing here in the month of July. But thank you so much for coming on, and we're really fortunate to have you, and wish you a really good rest of your summer.
Thanks, Jeff. Look forward to seeing your success too.
All right, thanks, Craig.